with the platform. We are live at the Columbus and Belen Jesuits annual game, Carlos.
Annual ruckus that they have every year here at FIU. I believe this is the 7th game. Columbus has not lost one yet. We'll see if Belen can get off the snide tonight. It's going to be a tall task. I look for Columbus to pick up right where they left off last week.
Well, here in the game they show, I think it's safe to say this is called the Hispanic Bowl. Can we call it the Hispanic Bowl?
The 305 Hispanic Bowl.
Because you know what? It's been 7 years, like you said. The
Yes.
first 4 games were preseason, right? Or
were
jamborees?
Jamborees. They didn't really count. They started counting 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
And Columbus is perfect 6-0.
I'll tell you what, the athletic director at Columbus and at Belen, they do a wonderful job with their programs.
Absolutely.
Every single year.
As does Coach Merritt and Coach Stewart.
And Coach Merritt and Coach Stewart, they run a college operation. So much so, Belen just finished getting a brand new football field.
Yes, they have.
Brand new turf.
Brand new turf. Last week they broke it in against Thunderbirds from Hialeah. Came up a little bit short. I think maybe they were looking forward to this week's game. But they got a big task in front of them today, Rolly. Columbus comes out with them 3 D1 prospects that they got, and Daryl Chestnut, Jesus, Bobo Wilson, and Lorenzo Woodley. Lorenzo Woodley used to be a Belen Wolverine himself, so we'll see how it shakes out. But I look for Daryl Chestnut and Bobo Wilson to have big games just like last week.
Well, let me tell you, Columbus is also, they've had some construction going on where they're building an amazing fitness wellness center that's going to have a treatment room. I mean, a state-of-the-art gym with weights. It looks like a college facility.
Absolutely.
It is incredible.
Absolutely,
absolutely. I saw the pictures, and it's construction's on the way. So it's both schools doing construction, continue to build, and they continue building in this amazing way where they continue to produce amazing men and women. I'm sorry. Just men in the community where we have attorneys, lawyers, doctors. It goes on and on.
It goes on. The list goes on and on. But getting back to tonight's game, over on the Belen sideline, last week they lost their starting fullback, gone for the year with an ACL. But I look forward to seeing what Xavier Hines can do. He's the standout safety they had. He's an FIU commit, so he's number 26. He's playing in the middle of the field. I don't think Columbus will be able to attack the middle of the field like they did last week. But and over on the Columbus side, aside from the players we mentioned already, I'm looking forward to see how Tucker Burns does tonight. And on the defensive side of the ball, Joey Gonzalez, Otto Travieso. They had nice games last week, and we'll see how that continues today.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think that today this could be a breakout game for Mr. Tucker Burns.
I think so.
I mean, Columbus played a pretty good, St. Thomas Aquinas team. They had great corners.
Yes.
Al Harris, his son, was out there playing corner.
Yes.
Okay? And you know what? They did decent.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, though, Rolly, I've watched Xavier Hines play for the last 3 years. The kid is an absolute stud. And if Tucker hangs it a little bit,
well, Alexander DeBalasi, former Bronco.
Alex DeBlasi.
He's
call him prime time.
He's out there playing DB.
Absolutely.
And he's a senior now.
Coach Stewart has a young squad, but they are talented. Maybe last week was just a fluke. And that's why you got to play the games. This is a big rivalry game, and you never know what can happen in rivalry games, Rolly.
Yes. Some people say, Rolly has a man crush on Coach Merritt. I don't have a man crush on Coach Merritt.
Yeah, you do.
I just think that Coach Merritt.
Yeah, he does.
I just think Coach Merritt does an amazing job, and so does Coach Stewart.
Coach Stewart does too.
I gotta hand it to both absolutely. They both.
And listen, for you people out there that didn't know this little tidbit, Coach Stewart is a Columbus alumni, if you guys didn't know that.
Absolutely.
So how weird can that be? You're the biggest game of the year for your football team is against your alma mater. You know what I mean? So
and you know what? And speaking of alumni, this is going to be full today, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
With alumni all the way around.
Absolutely.
They've already had a huge tent outside.
They've sold out press boxes. It's tailgating. There's no parking outside. We had 6,000 people at the game last week. We're expecting about 20 today. So,
Carlos, let's call it right here. How do you see it today?
I got Columbus 34-14.
He's being generous. Columbus 34-14. I'm going to agree with him a little bit here. I'm going to say Columbus is going to blow this one out today and go 42-14. You heard it here with the platform, Rolly and Carlos.
See you at halftime.
See you at halftime.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back here. Want to recap on last night's games. South Dade 2-0, blowout last night, 42-0. DK Wilson, big game. Rolly, everybody's been talking about South Dade, and I got him going a long ways this way. Go, Rolly.
Let me tell you, South Dade, the game was over at the end of the first quarter.
Absolutely.
You had number 8, Mr. Leroy Wilson, senior. How many yards did he have?
About 100, 140, 160.
Oh, that kid had so many yards rushing on 9 carries, 3 touchdowns.
Absolutely.
You had your boy CJ. He had a touchdown.
CJ Horton.
And then, of course, DK. DK had a touchdown. I mean, they threw it. They ran it. South Dade looks good.
And they haven't broken out the secret weapon yet. We're not going to tell you what it is. They're saving it for the playoffs. Stay tuned.
Well, you know what? The secret weapon, let's go away from that. But they didn't punt the number 1. They kept punting away. Well, here we go. We're going live.
Game of the week.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rolly and Carlos from the platform here. After the first quarter, starting the second quarter, Carlos.
Rolly, 14-0, should be 21-0. Big 45-yard run called back by Woodley. Bubba's doing his thing.
Jesus Bubba Wilson had a 45-yard punt return, ran out of bounds. The next series, a nice little flag route.
Touchdown. Coach Stewart tried to make something happen, fake punt right before the first quarter ended. Didn't work out, resulted in 7 points for Columbus. Columbus is rolling 14-0 going into the second quarter. Belen ain't got the guns to stick up with these guys, Rolly.
Well, let's just see what happens here in the second quarter. We'll check you guys out here at halftime.
See you at halftime.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the platform halftime game day show here.
We're Friday night here at FIU Stadium, Columbus and Belen, and Rolly, 21-3 at halftime.
21-3. And, I guess the story here has been, Jesus Wilson and Darrell Chestnut.
Picking up right where they left off last week. Told you that was going to be at the beginning of the game. Darrell Chestnut seems to be able to hit it whenever he wants. Bubbles had a big first half. Had a 40-yard touchdown pass in the first quarter. Woodley had a big run called back on a hold. Columbus has had 2 turnovers. Rolly, they're rolling.
Yeah, and it just goes back to also Columbus had, the big run by Woodley, 45-yard run. It was a 45-yard scamper. Called back for holding, And last week there was one called back for holding. It was a touchdown.
Yeah.
It was big. And in the second quarter, Chestnut does it again.
10 seconds, 15 seconds left in the half, just like last week against St. Thomas Aquinas. And he takes it 80 yards
up the
to
gut.
the house, untouched.
Yeah.
The kid is amazing.
He takes it 80 yards right up the gut, scores, and not only that, but it was also done like, the hole was huge. And when everybody expected Columbus to throw the ball because it was 50 seconds on the clock before halftime. You get a dive and it's a touchdown.
It's a touchdown. Last week we saw a lot of that last week against St. Thomas. He had 2 big runs. One of them was called back because of a hold. It's picked up right where he left off last week. This kid's having a big year, Rolly.
Yeah, and Jesus Wilson had a nice punt return, like you said, in the first quarter, and then he had a nice flag route, bam, touchdown in the back of the end zone. And now they're punting away from him, so we'll have to wait and see.
I'm going to tell you, Rolly, I'm a little bit surprised with the play calling over at Belen. They were down close at the beginning in the first quarter. They went for it on 4th and 2. They got stopped, came away with no points. They've thrown the ball uncharacteristically. Rolly, right before halftime, 1 second left, they call timeout. They come out of a timeout, and they run a dive. I don't understand that, Rolly.
Well, to me, I see in the first quarter, they were deep in in their own territory, and they go for it instead of punting it. And then, they're driving. It's 4th and 3. They can get a field goal. Coach Stewart decided to go for it again, and they were close. They missed it by like an inch or so. But you know what? Those turned into, big turnovers because Columbus capitalized on the second one, and then they ended up scoring to go ahead, 14-3.
Rolly, how about this fantastic crowd we got here today? It started trickling in late, fashionably late, like all the Cubans are here in Westchester in 305.
The Latins.
And I got to tell you, we got a great crowd here today. That Belen sideline is rocking. The student center over here on Columbus' side is rocking. Got a great game. I predicted 34-14. I don't know if Belen scores any more points.
I agree with you. And I said 42-14. I'll reduce that because knowing Coach Merritt's not going to allow his kids to put 42 points up on Coach Stewart because of the respect for each other and this great rivalry game.
I agree, but as long as he keeps it on the ground and they keep breaking runs, well, they're not going to stop running.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? And I'm going to tell you something else. This is the 7th year, I believe, these two teams play. Coach Alex Trujillo, the defensive coordinator for Christopher Columbus Senior High School, defends the wing tee better than anybody I've ever seen. And I'm going to tell you right now, as long as Coach Trujillo is at Columbus,
it's gonna be
I
tough.
don't think Belen is going to be able to pull this one out.
Well, Belen has had a couple reverses, out of the wing tee. We had a couple fumbles out of that reverse.
Right.
Okay, I've seen the reverse twice, and I've seen fumbles twice on that reverse. Columbus also had a fumble here at the end.
Yeah, they came out a little bit in the second quarter, and they kind of like self-destructed like they did last week against St. Thomas in the fourth quarter. They weren't crisp for 2 series. The quarterback had a nice pass and went right through the receiver's hands. It was a turnover. Then they had a fumble on a run. But when you got firepower like this that they can hit it at any moment, it doesn't really matter.
50 seconds left before halftime. Daryl Chestnut steals the show, 80-yard scamper up the middle, and that's a beautiful thing.
Did the same thing last week against a much more talented St. Thomas Aquinas team.
Absolutely. 5'8", Daryl Chestnut Sr. here at Christopher Columbus. Well, guys, we got 2 quarters left. Me and Carlos are going to sit here, watch these 2 quarters. We'll try to get back to you for the 3rd quarter to see, what Belen and Christopher Columbus does.
Listen, if you can't catch the game and you can't follow us, you can follow us on Twitter. We're posting the scores on Twitter as they happen. See you at the end of the ballgame.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rolly and Carlos in the platform into the 3rd quarter. Carlos, 35-3.
35-3. This one's basically over. Merritt's called off the dogs. He's got all the 2nd and 3rd teamers in there, offensively and defensively. Just saw Andres Fernandez playing quarterback for Columbus. Belen just can't seem to get it rolling, Rolly. Woodley had a touchdown over here. Wilson had a touchdown on this side. Just could be a long year for the Belen Wolverines.
Yeah, I feel bad for number 31 for Belen. He coughed up the ball twice. Once on the 3rd-yard line here deep inside, which gave Woodley a 3-yard touchdown, and then we had, another. They got the ball back after Columbus scored after the kickoff, and on 1st down, he put it on the ground again. Yeah. You know what? I give credit to Coach Stewart. He gave him the ball back, keeping that confidence in him. But unfortunately, he put it on the turf twice.
I'm gonna tell you, Rolly, Coach Stewart's got a very young team. Had a very talented senior class graduate last year. All them kids came in together as freshmen. A lot of them. They played at Doral. They had a great run for 4 years, and they're in the middle of rebuilding over at Belen right now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's 35-3 here in the beginning of the 4th quarter. And behind us, as you can hear the crowd, it's another touchdown for Columbus.
Wow.
And here comes the band.
Well, we'll see you all at the end of the game.
See you at the end of the game. Well, guys, that's a wrap.
49-3, biggest margin of victory since these teams started playing. Columbus seems to be heading in one direction. Belen seems to be heading in the other direction. It's going to be a long year for Belen. They play in the toughest district in Dade County football, and they're already 0-1 in that district. So.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for them. Yeah. Today was the 3-headed monster. Woodley, Chestnut, and Wilson. Combined for. What was it, 7 touchdowns? So
Woodley had 3 by himself. I'm going to tell you something, Rolly. Coach Merritt, Coach Merritt didn't throw the ball after the middle of the third quarter forward, and they still put 21 more points on the board. This Columbus team is a juggernaut. They got count them, three D1 running backs and one D1 receiver. They are explosive. They're playing good defense. I have a feeling it might be Columbus's year this year, bro.
Well, it could be, definitely be.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if Mr. Tucker Burns, with this experience, guys, we're talking about a true sophomore here.
Yeah.
Okay, and with experience, he's getting better and better. He threw a couple nice passes up the middle that were dropped.
One
was caught.
He missed Bobo Wilson wide open for 6. He was a little bit inconsistent today. I'd like to see a little bit more consistency from him. I'm sure Merritt will straighten it out. They got Southridge next week. Doesn't get any easier. They've had a big 3 right off the bat. St. Thomas, Belen, and now Southridge. By the way, I hear St. Thomas is getting handled
Cypress
by
Bay.
Coach Guandolo. You know how Coach does it up there. So, not much more to say, you know.
It's 49-3 here at FIU Stadium. Tomorrow, we're going to be at another big game at Sun Life Stadium.
Absolutely. That's going to be a big game. It's going to be a track meet tomorrow.
Central Rockets. It's going to be an exciting game.
It's going to be a track meet tomorrow.
It's going to be Booker T. Washington versus the Central Rockets.
I got the Tornadoes.
You know, I got the Tornadoes too.
Yeah.
I love the Rockets, but I picked the Tornadoes.
Absolutely.
You know, and today here, I said 42-14. It's 49-3. I didn't think they would score 40 points, but it's like Carl said, class act, Coach Merritt took the foot off the gas, put it in the back of the
He can't tell his running backs to lay low, but he took the ball out of the air midway through the third quarter. And final score here at FIU Stadium: Columbus 49, Belen 3. Columbus 7-0 in this 7-0 in this game.
We want to thank Belen and Columbus for letting us come out today. So good luck, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Before we go, quick shout out to Mr. McKeon, AD over at Columbus. Johnny Laneza, offensive line coach at Columbus, just had a baby boy, future explorer. Be playing on the line in about 15 years.
Oh, let's see if we're going to catch Coach Merritt in a minute.
Absolutely. See you guys tomorrow night.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rolly Reyes with the platform with Coach Chris Merritt. Coach, 8 years of this rivalry, 4 preseason, 4 regular, biggest lopsided victory. How does it feel to win this game like this?
Well, I was real happy for the team. I think the defense played one heck of a ball game and you give our offense that many chances, they're going to put points up on the board. But like I said, Rich Stewart is a good friend of mine. Obviously, you don't want to, I don't want to hurt that friendship in any way. But the kids, my kids are not going to not play hard.
Absolutely. We saw early in the third quarter you let your foot off the gas. We saw all the second and third stringers going in. So we definitely saw that from the get. Coach, in Dallas, my favorite NFL team, they used to have a 3-headed monster, Irving, Aikman, and Mr. Emmitt Smith. Here today we saw Chestnut, Woodley, and Wilson. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that's what makes our offense, I think, so dynamic in terms of our running backs are always going to be fresh. If you're going to load the box on us to stop our running backs and you're going to single cover Jesus Wilson, you better have a really good corner. And Tucker Burns got a strong enough arm. I think he showed it on the one that he overthrew, that kid's going to put the ball anywhere and just let Jesus go out and outrun the kid. So, that just gives us so many different opportunities to put points on the board and makes us tough to defend. And then you've got the other guys. I mean, you got Austin Armstrong, you got the tight ends, you got the other players in the game that complement those 3 monsters. And I'm excited that as we keep everybody healthy, we're going to have a good season.
Absolutely. Is it fair to say that we can call this the Hispanic Bowl?
It's the Cuban. It's the Cuban Pope Bowl.
Yeah.
It's the Westchester War. I mean, that's what it is.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Chris Merritt, congratulations on a great victory. We'll keep watching Columbus. Look out. They're dangerous. Coach Southridge, good luck next week.
Thank you, man.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, here with Jesus Bobo Wilson. We talked to him a couple weeks ago before the big game at St. Thomas. As you know, he had a big game. Bobo, another nice game for you. Want to talk a little bit about it?
We just came out here, played hard. It's a big rivalry game, it's a big tradition game, so we played 4 quarters strong. Last week we came up short. We came out slow second half, so we had to go 4 hard quarters. We got the victory.
Had a nice punt return, a nice fade route, and then you had a screen. 2 touchdowns, add to your total. How are you guys getting ready for next week for Southridge?
Well, Southridge is a very aggressive team, so we got to come out hard this week to practice and just continue to grind.
Well, you know what, Bubba? We're very proud of you. Keep up the hard work, and we'll see you next week.